Hello, this is Max. Dive into the chilling story of Jack the Ripper on the gritty streets of 1888 London. Don't forget to subscribe. Game of Thrones, much like real-life power struggles, is a treacherous endeavor often marked by bloodshed, including the blood of the innocent. We're then transported to the gritty streets of London in 1888, where a man named McQueen exerts his control over a prostitute named Mary, setting the stage for the unfolding drama. The following morning, Mary reunites with her fellow prostitutes, where they're joined by their friend Dan, who has since left the profession and married a wealthy painter named Albert, and entrusts her newborn daughter, Alice, to Mary's care for the day. Concerned about McQueen's persistent harassment and his demands for control over their work, Mary explains the dangers of their profession, expressing her reluctance to expose Alice to such risks. Despite Mary's concerns, Anne assures her that she'll arrange some money as a commission for McQueen, alleviating Mary's worries about their safety. Relieved by the solution, Mary agrees to care for Anne's daughter. However, tragedy strikes when Albert and Anne are unexpectedly raided by the police and taken away. Witnessing their arrest, Mary grows increasingly anxious about Alice's well-being as night falls and they fail to return. With no resources to provide for the infant, Mary and her friends fret over how to feed the hungry baby. In a gesture of solidarity, one of Mary's friends volunteers to procure food for the child. Unfortunately, Mary's friend becomes the victim of a brutal attack in a secluded place, where assailants stake her life. To ensure a thorough investigation, Sergeant Peter reports the gruesome murders to Inspector Frederick of the Whitechapel Police, a gifted but troubled man haunted by his wife's death during childbirth. Frederick's unorthodox methods, including his reliance on psychic visions, raise eyebrows among his colleagues, including Sergeant Peter, who struggles to comprehend his unconventional approach. As Frederick delves into the case, his investigations lead him to suspect an educated individual with knowledge of human anatomy as the perpetrator, given the surgical precision of the killings. Meanwhile, a renowned Dr. William prepares to perform a controversial operation on a patient deemed violent and insane. None other than Anne, one of the prostitutes involved in the unfolding tragedy. Elsewhere, the remaining prostitutes, shaken by the escalating violence, gather at a club to discuss their fears and suspicions, with McQueen emerging as a prime suspect due to his recent conflicts with the women. When Polly, another prostitute, encounters McQueen after a client encounter, tensions rise as he demands a share of earnings. Later, a seemingly innocent offer of a ride turns deadly for another prostitute, as she falls prey to a sinister figure equipped with a chilling array of tools used to mutilate her body. The discovery of the body the next morning brings Inspector Frederick to the scene, where he meticulously examines the evidence. Among the grim findings, Frederick notices the presence of grapevine branches, reminiscent of the method used in Martha's previous murder. This discovery confirms Frederick's suspicions that the killings are connected and carried out by the same method. Determined to pursue his theory, Frederick reports his findings to his superior, Charles, emphasizing the surgical precision required for such gruesome acts. However, Charles dismisses Frederick's insights, urging him to swiftly close the case despite the lack of conclusive evidence. This dismissal only fuels Frederick's resolve to uncover the truth behind the heinous crimes plaguing Whitechapel. At the funeral the next day, Inspector Frederick extends his condolences to the grieving prostitutes and takes the opportunity to speak with them. Expressing his regret for the ongoing tragedies, Frederick seeks answers from the group. During his conversation with Mary, she boldly accuses McQueen as the culprit behind the killings, urging Frederick to take immediate action and arrest him. Though intrigued by Mary's assertion, Frederick remains cautious, aware of the complexities involved in the case. He assures Mary that her concerns will be taken seriously and promises to investigate McQueen further. However, Frederick explains to Mary that without concrete evidence against McQueen, they cannot simply arrest him on suspicion alone. He urges Mary and the other prostitutes to cooperate with the investigation to gather the necessary proof. Disheartened by the lack of immediate action, Mary storms off in frustration. That night, Mary confides in her friend, revealing the hardships that led her into the profession at a young age following her mother's death. Their conversation is interrupted by the abrasive building owner, who evicts them due to unpaid rent, adding to their woes. Meanwhile, the serial killer strikes again, claiming another victim from among the prostitutes. The next morning, Frederick arrives at the scene of the latest murder, noting the familiar presence of grapevine branches. Recognizing a potential pattern or ritual in the killings, Frederick intensifies his investigation. His inquiries lead him to London Hospital, where he encounters a man named John in critical condition, sparking new leads in his pursuit of the elusive killer. Frederick observes as the surgeons successfully operate on John, enabling him to stand once more. Among the medical staff, Frederick notices Albert, further piquing his interest as he recalls N's involvement with the hospital. Approaching a young surgeon, Frederick seeks assistance in unraveling the mystery behind the killings. With determination in his eyes, the young doctor listens intently as Frederick outlines the details of the case, recognizing the urgency and gravity of the situation. Initially uninterested, the young surgeon's demeanor shifts when Dr. William arrives. Escorting Frederick to a private room, Dr. William agrees to assist him in his investigation. Together, they examine various blades used in surgeries, drawing parallels between the weapons and the wounds inflicted on the victims. Meanwhile, Albert's involvement takes a sinister turn as he colludes with a man linked to the serial killer. Dr. William's subsequent audience with Queen Victoria reveals troubling news about her grandson's failing health, hinting at broader implications beyond the ongoing murders. With a sense of urgency, Dr. William assures Queen Victoria that he may have a solution to the prince's ailment, sparking hope in the midst of uncertainty. Meanwhile, Frederick orders his men to increase surveillance in the areas where the killer has targeted prostitutes, hoping to catch the perpetrator in the act. However, tensions rise within the killer's circle as one of his accomplices expresses reluctance to continue their deadly spree. Despite the objections, the killer insists that they have no choice but to proceed with their nefarious plans, setting the stage for their next tragic encounter. Concerned for Mary's safety, Frederick personally visits her to gather more information about the individuals she encountered during N's abduction. Mary describes the distinctive attire of the kidnappers, providing valuable clues for Frederick's investigation. Despite his determination to bring justice, Frederick warns Mary of the dangers involved in confronting McQueen and his network. He emphasizes the risk of retaliation and advises her to exercise caution to avoid putting herself in harm's way. In a separate conversation with his colleague, Frederick learns about a formidable figure named Ben Kidney. Despite the colleague's warning to steer clear of Ben Kidney due to his influential status, Frederick remains undeterred in his pursuit of the truth. Despite the warnings, Frederick remains determined and proceeds with his plan to visit Ben Kidney's office. With Mary's assistance, they successfully obtain the files related to N's case before narrowly escaping detection. Armed with crucial information, Frederick decides to confront the truth head-on and takes Mary with him to visit Anne at the facility where she is being held. Their daring move signifies Frederick's unwavering commitment to uncovering the secrets behind the ongoing tragedies. As Frederick attempts to engage in conversation, he discovers that she has been deliberately driven to madness to prevent her from revealing any damning information. Determined to bring N's daughter back to her, Mary resolves to take action. During their subsequent conversation, Frederick opens up about his own personal struggles, sharing the heartbreaking story of his wife's death. In return, Anne confides in Frederick about her relationship with Prince Albert and the circumstances of their marriage. Their bond deepens as they find solace and companionship in each other's company, culminating in a visit to an art gallery. While at the gallery, Mary recognizes one of Albert's paintings, leading her to a startling revelation. Albert is not merely a painter, but also a member of the royal family. Realizing the potential implications of this discovery, Frederick wastes no time in seeking out Dr. William to share his newfound insights. With Anne's revelation that her husband, Prince Albert, is suffering from syphilis, and with baby Alice poised to inherit the British throne, Frederick begins to suspect that Prince Albert may be involved in the string of murders plaguing Whitechapel. William dismisses the notion that Prince Albert could be behind the murders, citing his incapability to orchestrate such acts. However, Frederick's investigation takes a grim turn when he receives a letter accompanied by a gruesome human organ, further highlighting the brutality of the killings. Determined to protect Anne's daughter, Frederick devises a plan to ensure her safety. He instructs Mary to lay low with her friends and provides her with financial assistance for their temporary relocation. Meanwhile, tensions escalate among the prostitutes, leading to a violent altercation and one of them storming out into the night. As Frederick pieces together the puzzle, he realizes the sinister motives behind the murders. Ben Kidney's background as a military surgeon sheds light on his involvement, and Frederick unveils a chilling plot to eliminate all witnesses to Anne's marriage to Prince Albert. With Anne's daughter poised to inherit the throne, the perpetrators aim to prevent potential unrest by eliminating anyone connected to the marriage. Tragically, the turmoil among the prostitutes leads to further bloodshed as the killer preys on the vulnerable girl who stormed out, adding another victim to his tally. Arrives at the scene, alarmed by the presence of the killer and the abandoned body of the girl. His suspicions heightened, Frederick deduces that the killer, thwarted in his attempt to harvest the girl's organs, is likely to strike again. True to his intuition, another girl falls victim to the killer's merciless rampage as she emerges from the room, unaware of the danger lurking in the shadows. Sensing the urgency of the situation, Frederick swiftly moves to the area where the second murder occurred, determined to apprehend the perpetrator before more lives are lost. Caught in a perilous predicament, Frederick finds himself at the mercy of Kidney and his cohorts, who issue a dire threat against him. Undeterred, Frederick rushes to the latest crime scene, where he discovers a chilling message absolving Jews of blame for the murders. Despite orders to remove the incriminating lines from the wall, Frederick stands firm, recognizing their potential significance to the investigation. This defiance earns him the ire of his superior, Charles, who strips him of his involvement in the case. Retreating to his home, Frederick grapples with the torment of his past and envisions Mary as the killer's next victim. Driven by his premonition, he confronts Dr. William, only to uncover a sinister conspiracy orchestrated by the highest echelons of power. As tensions reach a boiling point, Frederick confronts William, vowing to thwart his malevolent ambitions. However, his noble intentions are thwarted when Kidney intervenes, setting off a frenzied struggle for survival. In a desperate bid to save Mary and uncover the truth, Frederick engages in a harrowing battle against the Freemasons, ultimately emerging triumphant after a fierce altercation that leaves two assailants dead. With resolve in his heart, Frederick races to rescue Mary, determined to bring justice to those responsible for the heinous crimes. Arriving at the scene too late to save Mary, Frederick's anguish is compounded by his frustration towards his superiors' inaction. Meanwhile, Dr. William's sinister demeanor unveils the depth of his depravity, leading to his ultimate punishment at the hands of the Freemasons. Rather than facing public scrutiny, William undergoes a harrowing lobotomy orchestrated by the Freemasons to safeguard their own interests and shield the royal family from scandal. Despite his defiant demeanor, William is reduced to a helpless invalid, mirroring Anne's fate. Seeking solace amidst the turmoil, Frederick retreats to the familiar confines of the Ten Bells Tavern, where he receives a cryptic letter from Mary. However, the revelation that William mistook another prostitute for Mary, resulting in her tragic demise, shatters Frederick's hopes of a reunion with his beloved. Haunted by the specter of the Freemasons' watchful eye, Frederick resigns himself to a life devoid of normalcy, symbolized by the burning of Mary's letter. His tragic demise was marked by unforeseen circumstances, leaves Sergeant Godfrey grief-stricken, paying homage to his fallen comrade. In a poignant epilogue, Mary is depicted as the loving guardian of Alice, having found solace in a tranquil life by the sea. Despite the scars of their tumultuous past, Mary and Alice find comfort and companionship in each other's embrace, offering a glimmer of hope amidst the darkness. If you are interested in such films, please proceed to the next video on the screen and also share your thoughts about this film in the comments. Give us a like and subscribe. Goodbye.